In this video, I will use the Battering Ram from Dragon Quest Monsters as a Pokémon in Ruby. The Battering Ram, or Damned Ram, is the boss of the Labyrinth Gate in Terry's Wonderland. I'll just use his original Japanese name of Dark Horn in the game, to avoid sensitive words. This is YouTube after all. He's a late-game boss in the original GBC version, and he can be recruited using meat. But for whatever reason, he was switched with the Knight Aberrant to become an optional early boss in the 3DS remake. His stats are great, except for MP, which just happens to be the dump stat in the original DQM. He will have 102 base HP, 64 attack, 133 defense, 127 special attack, 44 special defense, and 85 speed, for a total of 555. I've reworked the conversion to normalize the stats, so the A and S tiers aren't so overpowered. DQM uses lookup tables instead of a fixed formula to calculate stat growth, the rate of which can vary greatly at different levels, so the conversion won't be exactly faithful. Also, bigger index numbers aren't always better. For example, 12 and 18 are among the best, while 19 is quite bad. But the growth rate of 19 is actually the second highest before level 17, so I've buffed his attack slightly. His level-up moves are based on his Cold Sleep skill set in the 3DS version, the skills he learns in the original, and the skills he uses as the gate boss. Pokémon doesn't have the Silence Ailment, which seals spells, and Throat Chop isn't in Gen 3, so moves like Disable and Imprison will have to do. All basic solo run rules apply. I won't use Hidden Power due to its luck-based nature in this generation. I will set up a Battering Ram with perfect IVs and pre-applied EVs. He will have a neutral nature, as I can edit the base stats directly to make adjustments. He's in the Beast family, which corresponds to the ground type, and he guards a labyrinth, so the dark type also fits, not to mention his original name is Dark Horn. Max special defense EVs is forced, and max physical attack makes more sense as his special attack is good enough naturally. The overcode ability didn't exist in Gen 3, so I gave it soundproof to make up for the lack of silence in Pokémon. It doesn't block many moves in this game though, with the only notable ones being Supersonic, Sing, and Roar, since nothing in-game uses Hyper Voice or Perish Song. He levels up at a medium rate in the original DQM, so I put him in the standard 1 million experience group. Roxanne's gym was pretty easy. Powder Snow easily one-shots her Geodude, and while her Nosepass isn't weak to ice, it has abysmal attack stats, and I resist rock. Also, since I was faster, the AI in this generation would use Rock Tomb regardless of my resistances, because it treats such moves as speed debuff, not damaging attacks. She gives the TM for Rock Tomb, but it's just terrible in Gen 3, with only 50 power and 80% accuracy, not 60 and 95% like it is now. Brawly's gym was somewhat of a hurdle, due to my weakness to fighting and the lack of grinding spots. The wild Pokémon in this game are so low level that they are just not worth fighting for experience. The best I could do was try to put his Pokémon to sleep and knock them out before they'd wake up, but Hypnosis only has 60% accuracy in this game, so it was far from a reliable strategy. I missed the first Hypnosis and got punished with a critical Karate Chop. I only had half health for his Makuhita, which has a lot of HP and the thick fat ability that halves fire and ice damage. Hypnosis missed again, and that allowed it to use Bulk Up to boost its attack and defense, so this was already GG, unless I got a crit, which I didn't. I really didn't want to grind on wild Pokémon for about 80 EXP apiece, so I decided to just try again and hope for better luck with Hypnosis, and maybe a couple of crits. Hypnosis hit the first time against his Machop, and I also got a crit that didn't matter, so I had full health for his Makuhita. Hypnosis missed, and it got a Bulk Up in, but I successfully put it to sleep on the next turn and was able to take it down with Horn Attack before it could wake up. My third Horn Attack seemed to have rolled higher damage, but it could just be a misperception due to the color of the HP bar. I made the Bulk Up TM compatible, but I don't think I'll need it. My attack stat is below average even with max EVs, and this game is quite punishing towards physical attackers, with so many intimidators on the enemy teams. I don't have a great matchup against the rival in the second battle, but I got pretty lucky there. Powder Snow barely missed a one-shot on his Shroomish, but it didn't use Leech Seed and missed its stun spore. Things could have gone south quickly if I'd gotten paralyzed or seeded, since his Marshtomp could hit my poor special defense with its water gun. And it has the move Bide, which could be deadly if it went first. Misspelling aside, Feint Attack is my strongest stab special move, and yes, it is special in this generation, which for once works in my favor. They've fixed its name to use the correct feint with an E since Gen 5 or 6, although I'm not sure what took them so long to notice such an obvious error. Watson was actually trivial this time, although I had nothing good against his steel types, which still resisted Ghost and Dark. I'm naturally immune to Electric, and Soundproof blocks Supersonic. It does not, however, block Sonic Boom, as it's not classified as a sound-based move. It could be an oversight, but Sonic Boom is still not a sound-based move until now. My guess is that because it does fixed damage and ignores resistances, interactions with certain abilities could be a pain to program. Anyway, I have good base HP and special attack, and his Pokémon all have low special defense, so it wasn't hard to take them down with Feint Attack. I made Shockwave compatible, seeing as many heavy ground types like Nidoking and Rhydon can learn it. It should just be a ground type move that electric Pokémon can also learn, especially since electric types have the worst coverage of all. Before the first Maxi battle, I picked up Secret Power and Dig to replace Hypnosis and Powder Snow. Hypnosis was too unreliable, and Powder Snow was getting too weak without stab. Maxi's team is severely underleveled in this fight, and his highest level Pokémon, Camerupt, is still using Tackle and Ember for some stupid reason. The biggest threat in this fight is actually his lead Mightyena, which has Intimidate and knows the ever-annoying Sand Attack. Fortunately, neither Feint Attack nor Shockwave is affected by accuracy and evasion modifiers. I'm not an ice type, and I get Stab for ground, so Flannery's Gym was another easy win. She has a pair of Slugma, which is one of the worst Pokémon ever made, and Magcargo is arguably even worse. I equipped a Rost Berry just for the sake of it, even though I was sure that neither Slugma has Flame Body in this fight. I didn't even need Dig to one-shot each Slugma, and I don't think Feint Attack made contact in this gen, or ever for that matter. Torkoal has 140 base defense and could obviously survive a Dig, but its Overheat could only do about a third to me, and it didn't have a white herb to restore its special attack. I think it does in the Emerald version, but the ROM editor doesn't work for Emerald. I can't use the Overheat TM, and it's a bad move for solo runs anyway. And guess what, Norman's Gym was another free win for me, simply because I had Dig. His Slackings would lose every second turn to Truant, and they don't know Earthquake, which meant I got to attack with Dig for free. His second Slacking would only use Focus Punch against anything that's weak to fighting but not dark, so all you have to do with a dark type is attack every turn, or just on odd turns. Norman gives the TM for Facade, a situational comeback move aimed squarely at PvP and the Battle Tower. It's useless in non-TAS solo runs, where you don't want to keep an ailment. The rival fights have become devoid of any challenge at this point. His team is not only severely underleveled, but he also doesn't even have a single fully evolved Pokémon. In fact, you can find wild Pokémon in this area that are higher level. And most of all, why does he only have 3 Pokémon, 5 badges into the game? This has always bothered me. I mean, how could he possibly have beaten Norman with such a team? Before anyone says his Shroomish could have used Spore and Leech Seed to stall, Shroomish doesn't learn Spore until level 54. Your rival or rivals in all other games have a team that you can beat the entire game with, so it makes me wonder, does he even fight gyms in this game? Anyway, the Flying Gym was again a piece of cake. You'd naturally be overleveled for it in a solo run, even if you skipped every optional trainer along the way. The biggest threat on Winona's team was her Skarmory and its sand attack, but I still had Shockwave to deal with it. I didn't make Aerial Ace compatible with the Battering Ram, since he's not a flying type, nor does he have claws or weapons to slash with. Its original name translates to Swallow Return, which is a sword technique in Japanese folklore, and I suppose they renamed it to Aerial Ace due to the character limit. Here's the final rival battle in these games, and he still doesn't have a full team or even a fully evolved starter. I know they gave him more of a support role, while Wally was meant to be your real rival, but Wally only fights you once with a proper team. So, the least they could do was give him a fully evolved team for this battle, if only to show off a few more Pokémon introduced in this gen, like Breloom, Swalot, Crawdaunt, and Wailord. You need at least 2 Pokémon to fight the Psychic Gym, so I just grabbed my HM Mule. I'm immune to Psychic, so this fight shouldn't be difficult even if it was 1 against 2, and I equipped a Chesto Berry in case their Lunatone put me to sleep with Hypnosis. Both Solrock and Lunatone are levitating and immune to ground, but I also have Feint Attack to hit their dark weakness. I'm not sure if the Solrock has Solar Beam in this version, but its special attack is awful, and I am sure that the Lunatone does not have Ice Beam. And of course, the Fairy type and Moonblast didn't exist until Gen 6. I made Calm Mind compatible, and I think I will need it for the Pokémon League. I have no special attack EVs, and my base special defense is terrible. The Persim Berry is pretty much mandatory for the second Maxi fight, since both his Mightyena and Crobat can inflict confusion. Despite what it looks like, Swagger is not a sound-based move. Snarl is, but I don't think it's in this generation, or the next, even though it's just a Dark-type clone of Icy Wind with a different secondary effect. Thanks to my Persim Berry, Swagger gave me a free attack boost. It was only 1 stage, since I was hit by Intimidate, but it would still be helpful against his Crobat and Camerupt. I didn't expect to outrun his Crobat here without any speed EVs, but I guess I did have a 12-level lead. I don't think enemy trainers in this gen have any EVs outside the League and the Battle Tower, but I could be wrong. Wallace could be a major roadblock for me due to my typing and awful special defense, if he didn't open with a useless Love Disc that can't do any meaningful damage. I learned Calm Mind and equipped a Persim Berry to cure confusion, and all I had to do to win was set up on it and proceed to sweep his team. His Milotic might survive a hit, but it'd have no way to take me out in 1 hit without a critical. Being the last gym leader, they really should have given him a Gyarados with Dragon Dance, Thunder Wave, and Earthquake as his opening Pokémon. It would make setting up against it very difficult, if not impossible. Many major battles in Fire Red and Leaf Green have the same problem as well, where the opponent's lead is just an easy setup fodder. The Water Pulse TM has already outlived its usefulness by now, considering you need Surf to even get this far. The Technician and Mega Launcher abilities aren't in this gen either. The Wally battle at the end of Victory Road could be annoying if you are not fast enough to go first. All of his Pokémon can inflict some kind of a status ailment, like Paralysis, Sleep, Confusion, and Leech Seed. However, when you are faster, his lead Altaria will always prioritize Dragon Dance until it outspeeds you, even if it could just try to paralyze you with Dragon Breath. I forgot to equip a Cherry Berry, but I doubt it would matter, since the AI would be highly unlikely to use Dragon Breath after my special defense and its physical attack had been boosted. Feint Attack after Calm Mind boosts easily one-shot most of his team, and I still had Dig for his Magneton, which had nothing that could hit me anyway, as Flash Cannon, etc. didn't exist. Before entering the league, I went to the game corner to buy the TM for Ice Beam, which is number 13 in this game. Here's a huge interface design flaw, as it doesn't tell you which number is which move. Thankfully, it has been fixed in the Gen 1 remakes, and presumably Emerald 2. Here are my stats and moves for the league. I won't need Dig anymore, so I replaced it with Ice Beam. I don't get Stab on it, but my special attack is good enough, and I have Calm Mind to boost it. I equipped a Persim Berry for Sydney, since many of his Pokémon no swagger. His lead Mightyena could be annoying with Sand Attack, but I still have Feint Attack as backup, which bypasses accuracy and evasion checks. Fortunately, it didn't pick Sand Attack and missed its takedown. I didn't want to get greedy with Calm Mind, and a single use was enough to one-shot it with Ice Beam anyway. The rest of his team was trivial, and in fact, nothing on his team has more than 60 base special defense. I have no idea why they gave so many Gen 3 Pokémon 60 in both defenses, especially when the new EV system is particularly punishing towards glass cannons that can't afford to invest in defenses. Phoebe won't be a problem this time. Her first Dusclops that knows Curse doesn't have any special defense EVs, so my Stab Feint Attack will one-shot it. Her second one is at a higher level, but it doesn't have Curse, so it's nothing to worry about. I just set up Calm Mind once on her second Dusclops, as I had a Persim Berry to counter its Confuse Ray, and I wanted to make sure to one-shot her Sableye, which knows Attract. Glacia could be a problem due to my Ice weakness and awful special defense, and I will probably need her lead Glalie to not open with Ice Beam. I equipped a Citrus Berry, which should buy me an extra turn to set up, although it only heals 30 HP in this gen, instead of 25% of max HP. Her Glalie opened with Hail, as it usually does, and that meant I wouldn't get hit by Ice Beam until my special defense was boosted by at least 2 stages. Light Screen wasn't ideal, but it didn't really matter when I could just stall it out with Calm Mind. Its Ice Beam didn't do a whole lot, so this should be an easy win, since nothing on her team resists Dark. She could have sent out her Walrein while the light screen was still up, and that might have given me trouble due to my lack of recovery. But its special attack isn't great, and Blizzard only has 70% accuracy. Drake was a free win. My Ice Beam one-shot everything on his team. I thought I might be slower than his Salamence, but I wasn't. This means that it clearly doesn't have any speed EVs, or maybe it does, just not maxed. Here I took a moment to decide how I should take on Steven. I need Earthquake for his Aggron and Metagross, and since Steel resists Dark in this gen, Ice Beam is the best I can use against his Skarmory. I wish I kept Shockwave, because I don't think Ice Beam can one-shot it after a single Calm Mind, and Pecha Berry can only heal poison once. I could go with Rest and a Chesto Berry, but then I'd have to give up either Ice Beam or Feint Attack. Besides, I'd rather save Rest as a last resort, because it's really boring. I just went in with a Pecha Berry and hoped that his Skarmory would open with Spikes or just attack. It used Toxic, and my Ice Beam wasn't a one-shot, but it missed its next one. Nothing else on his team could pose nearly as much threat, so this battle was in the bag. Aggron was one-shot by Earthquake, and Cradily was one-shot by Ice Beam. Armaldo survived a Feint Attack, but it couldn't do much back. Claydol was one-shot, and Metagross couldn't knock me out even with a critical Meteor Mash, thanks to my massive defense. In conclusion, the Battering Ram was actually pretty good as a Pokémon, even when its terrible MP stat was used as special defense. Its other stats, especially HP, defense, and wisdom, easily made up for it. Next time, I'll use an iconic monster, who's in almost every Dragon Quest game, as a Pokémon in Fire Red. Thanks for watching.